Oh, hello. Alright. So we did aggro. That's cool. That's neat. Let's make him face the player, so he actually chases us and not just moves forward in some magical forward direction. So what I'm going to do... Whoa! Oh shit, the physics. He's pinched me there. That's insane. Yeah, so what we're gonna do is that when this fucker moves forward, I also want him to rotate to face the player. So let's do that. Oh my god, excuse me. This one, oh fuck. So what I'm gonna do, gonna head over here. So before we move, I'm also gonna do set actor world rotation. Nope, set actor rotation. So rotators in blueprints are usually expressed through this rotator structure, which is just a wrapper for Euler axis or Euler angles. Is that a kid? Holy shit, that kid is so excited about Unreal. So usually it's expressed with Euler angles. So this will be pitch, roll, and yaw. And yaw. And what we're gonna do is that we want to get the rotation to face the player. So how do we get the player? Well, we could do get player character. So this is a function in Unreal to get the player at some index, right? So if there's multiple players, that will be the index of that particular player. So let's use this. So what I'm going to do is that it's a little bit messy over here. I'm just gonna move this down a little bit. So what I'm going to do is that I'm gonna get the location of the player, get actor location. Wow. Whoa. And then I want to get the vector between this actor and the player. So I'm just going to take the player's position minus minus our location. So do... God, Unreal is so laggy. Oh, it bugged out again. I don't know if it's OBS doing this. I think it is. Like, something's going absolutely insane. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to restart. Something is just messing up Unreal's rendering.
What was the block you used to subtract?
Minus. Just type the minus thing. Or subtract. Or minus.
But that wants a vector, I think.
Yeah, I did here get actor location. And then from there I did minus. So then I did my vector minus vector.
No, again, how do you get that?
So drag out from the vector here.
Yeah, you drag out of there.
Ah, God, my back hurts. Oh. I'm gonna get a visit from the posterior palsy. Oh. Yeah, so drag out from the return value and then just minus. And then we want vector minus vector. Are you finding it?
Yeah.
Cool. I'll drag out the second one, and I'll do get actor location. But this time it'll just be ours. So if we don't provide an actor in here, so this is an actor reference in here. And that's which actor you want to get the location of. So if you don't put anything, you get the self here. So that means we got our actor location. But you can see for the player, it was the same thing. It's the same node, the same function. It's just that instead of providing nothing for the input actor, we provided a player character here in the target. So that means this function will be called on the player. So that will give us the player's actor location.
What exactly does the player index 0 thing mean?
So that's if you have multiple players. So if you're playing a 2-player game, then you know player 0 would be the first player, and then player 1 will be the second player.
And where are those like defined? Is it like in the yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
Just
we'll
thinking.
we'll talk about that. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. So now I have the vector pointing from us to the player. It's simple vector subtraction. Nothing super controversial there, I hope. So now we have a vector pointing from us to the player. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna call make rot from x. That means make rotator from x. And that's kind of like the look at function. So this will make a rotator where the x dimension or the x direction points in this vector we're providing. So we make a rotator that's pointing its x direction at, you know, whatever direction vector we provided. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, it's fine. This is not super important. I'm just gonna plug that into set actor rotation there. Whoops.
Can I create one of this with a key or something? My right click is bugging out.
Yeah, you can use drag with the left click and use release, and then you'll get it.
Yeah, again.
What?
It's like the context menu is. I can see it for like a millisecond, then it disappears.
Oh, it's glitching out for you too. I wonder, is this version just like cursed or something?
Before I reinstalled Windows last week, I couldn't run Unreal at all on this computer.
Huh.
It's
Weird.
also with the like overlay stuff.
Yeah, I'm getting the same thing. That is just like an glitching out. I wonder if maybe this version just has some issues. Unreal is not that poggers, unfortunately. Right. Just restart Unreal. So we're making a rotator from X. So now, after we're setting the active rotation to that rotator, we should be moving towards the player. So let's just check that and see if it works. So I'll move into him, and there he goes. So now he's chasing me. So that's cool. All right. I'm wondering if we should do actor spawning or if we should move on. Let's do actor spawning real quick because it's not that hard. So let's say we want this guy to shoot at us. I want him to shoot. Yeah, if you jump on top of me, he's gonna go crazy. Yeah, okay, let's do that. So I want him, as soon as he has aggro, I want him to shoot every 2 seconds or so. So let's do that. Whoa. What the hell just happened? So I'm gonna do a set timer. So there's our set timer by event. And it has some things here. So we have time. That's how long to wait before executing the delegate in seconds. Alright. And we have looping. Some initial start delay. And initial start delay variance, which I'm not quite sure what these are, to be completely honest with you guys. So I'm just gonna leave those. Alright, have fun. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna set the time to 1. Sure. I'm gonna set it to looping, so you want to shoot all the time. And so then what I'm gonna do is this is an event. And it's a little square thing here. And what that means is that this is a delegate. So if I hover over it, it's a delegate. And the way we bind to this delegate is that we just drag out. And then we just write custom event. So now we made our own event, which is called custom event. And I call it on shoot timer. Or let's just shoot. I should mention that we could have done this at any point. In reality, we could have moved all of our movement code. Let's say it's getting a little bit messy here. Maybe I want to move the face player thing to a different function. I could have just made a custom event here and called it face player. So just right click, custom event. I just name it something. And I name it face player. So then now I can just move all of this to here. So I'm saying, okay, all of this facing code, I'll do that here in this event here. And then instead of doing this all here, I'm just gonna call face player. There we go. So it's like a function. So you can make your own events so that you can call them. Very cool. Alright, so now we have set this event up for shooting. So let's just print just to make sure it works.
Wait, can we look at that thing again?
Which
quickly?
thing?
The custom thing.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Okay, so we set a timer. When the timer runs, it calls this shoot event, because I've connected it into the event here. Just drag out from this little box. We could have bound anything. We could have bound face player to it by just dragging out from the little square here. If we wanted to. But I'm gonna connect shoot. I'm just gonna type bang. So let's see if it works. So now every second we should be printing bang. After we've started chasing the player. So let's see. So go in. Bang, bang, bang. Yeah, once a second. Perfect. So now let's just spawn a bullet to shoot at the player. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna make a new actor to be our bullet. So we're gonna make some sort of bullet actor. So just go right click in the content browser, blueprint class. I'm gonna make an actor.
Hello?
Hello?
Hey, sorry, can we quickly look at how you created that event?
Yep. I'll move
No,
this.
like how you create an event.
Yep. Right click, custom event.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So right click, blueprint class, actor. We call it projectile. Let's go into there. So I have my new projectile actor here. This inherits from actor. Whoa. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add a sphere. That's it. Let's add a sphere. Very boring. Boring, yawn. I'll make it.
The sphere that's already there in everything, is that just like a placeholder gizmo or?
That's the gizmo for the default scene route. It's not actually a sphere, it's just a little billboard. It doesn't actually show up in game. So I'm adding the sphere to the default scene route here. Make it a little bit smaller. Wow. Wow. Look,
How did you change the color so quick?
Oh, I went into materials here. And I selected this one. It looked orange.
Did you choose actor for this projectile?
Yes. Yes. All right. So now what I will do is I will go into event graph for the projectile. And on tick, we're just gonna move forward, just like anything else. And instead of doing the actor forward vector times speed and stuff, instead I'm just gonna do add actor local offset. So this will add an offset in the actor's local space, which is kind of the same thing as what we did with the forward vector times speed. Just a simpler way of doing it, really. And what I'm gonna do is that instead of dragging out the vector and then I kind of multiplying that with delta seconds, what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna right click delta location, the input to the add actor local offsets. I'm gonna right click that, and then this split struct pin, I'm gonna hit that. Boom. So now instead of being a vector, instead it splits out into being its individual components as separate pins.
Cool.
Thanks. And then what I'm gonna do is then I'm just gonna drag out X, because we want to move forwards. So I'm gonna drag out from X, multiply that by a float. So just float times float. And we're gonna multiply delta seconds with 200. More. Let's do 1,500. I just restarted Unreal. Maybe we should download an older version just to get rid of this bug. Yeah, it's the authentic Unreal experience.
Unreal 5.
Yeah, you can actually download Unreal 5. Maybe we should go to that instead. Anyway.
Have you
I don't
used
understand.
anything?
How do you attach an event to, like, if you have the event tick? How do you attach the shoot event to that?
Attach shit. I just call it. Or what do you mean? Attach.
Yeah, I mean, how do you get it to work?
Get what to work?
The shoot event.
Oh. I used set timer by event.
Yeah.
And then I drag out from the event pin here. And drag
Yep.
that into shoot. This little square here.
Yeah. So you don't need anything extra on top of that for it to work.
Not really, no. Alright.
Emil, I have a question about something.
Shoot.
So in this case, we have like an on-trigger enter kind of thing, or collision enter,
Yep.
and then we have a bool that sets to true, and then it shoots, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happens when we walk outside of the collision zone? Does the bool still remain true? Like, does this condition still remain true, or do we have to be inside of the zone and have the bool be true, or does just one of these conditions, like the aggro one, be true?
Yeah. So we set it true on collision enter, which is, I guess, the Unity term. I don't quite remember. For it to reset, because this aggro bool has nothing to do really with the collision, except for that we set it in begin overlap. To make that behavior, to make it like reset when we go out, we would have to override end overlap here. So that's the collision exit in Unity.
Yeah, but what I'm asking is because, like, because how does this keep running? Because it's not like it's running in a update loop, right?
What keeps running, you mean?
The shooting thing.
Oh.
Like,
Well,
it's
that's
not really.
Yeah, that's because we're calling this set timer by event here. And since
Oh,
we set it to looping true, that means there's a timer running in Unreal. So that every 1 second it just calls the shoot event, and then it times another 1 second, then it calls the shoot event again. So that's not something we have coded, that's something Unreal provides, like a timer system. So that's why the shooting keeps happening.
Oh, okay.
So all the begin overlap does is just like start the timer, and then the timer is out of our hands.
How do you delete the link?
Oh, you alt-click. So either alt-click on the little line, or you can alt-click either of the exec. Or either of the pins, I mean. What are standard macros? Well, that's just a bunch of helper macros that Unreal has already provided. Like branch and loop and stuff like that. So with double-click branch. Oh, actually, never mind. That's not a. But if I do for each, like this is just a macro for all of this. But we won't talk about that. Okay. So, yeah. Tick, face player, yeah, okay, looks good. So then in the projectile, now we're moving it forwards. At a speed, whoops. I accidentally hit add pin here, so you can multiply a bunch of floats together in just one node. To remove them, you just right click and do remove pin. I don't know why there's two options for it. Why is this version so jank? What the hell is going on? It's like, I'm guessing the whole team is focusing on Unreal 5 right now, so. Okay, great. So now let's spawn it then. So after shoot, I'm gonna hit print bang, because that's important, and we need sound effects. And then after that, I'm gonna do spawn actor. And then we have this spawn actor from class node. So I'm gonna add that. So what to take from this is that Unreal is janky, we should use Unity. Well, Unreal is nice. It's just this version seems a bit janky for some reason.
What's nice about it?
It's great.
How so?
The coding is great. You have source access. You can do whatever the fuck you want. It's very powerful. I think that's why most like a lot of AAA games use Unreal, because they can sort of just hack the engine to be whatever they need it to be. Whereas with Unity, it's a little bit more locked down unless you get like source code access and stuff. Right. So here we can select which class to spawn, and this is of course all actors that are defined in Unreal by default. But somewhere in this list we should find projectile. So let's just search. There it is, projectile. So we can select that. So we're gonna spawn a projectile. Then we have transform. This is just a struct. It's not like in Unity where transform is a component. Transform is just a struct. I can split this, and you can see it's just a location, rotation, and scale. So this is a struct with these three variables in it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna recombine to make them not split anymore. So recombine. You can also hit space, I believe. No, I guess not anymore. What I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna go to viewport of our VR man. I'm gonna make a new component, a new scene component, to represent where the bullets are coming from. So it's gonna be our spawn point for bullets. So I'm gonna add a new scene component. So add component, and then use scene. I'm just gonna move that to where I want the bullets to come from. So let's put it here. In front of his face, so it comes out of his eyeball. I'm gonna make sure that the X component of the scene component actually faces in the X direction. Since the bullets are gonna move in its local X direction, I want to make sure that that matches up with the scene component. So the scene component right now is in front of his face. The X direction here, the red arrow, I'm making sure that lines up with the X direction of the world down here. And I'm gonna call this fire or shoot origin. So just rename the scene component there.
Wait, can I ask why, when you made the actor, you have like all the cubes and stuff in one of those scene
Yes.
objects? Is that like a empty game object, or
Yes.
What is it? Yeah.
Just an empty game object.
So,
That was
so
just,
it's just like for structure.
yeah, that was just so I can rotate everything like this. And they stayed.
I see.
Okay, so we have a shoot origin now. So let's go into event graph. And I want to use this shoot origins transform for where we spawn the projectile. So I'm just gonna drag it out. I'm just gonna take it here. Take it from the component list. Just drag it into the scene graph. Or sorry, to the event graph. And then we get a reference here to that component. And then I can use call get world transform. Oh god. Okay. What the hell? Okay, so now we're getting the world transform of our shoot origin. And now I can just plug that into the spawn transform there. So now we're gonna spawn a projectile at this shoot origin. And everything from the rotation and everything like that is gonna be taken from the world transform here. So let's see what happens. Hey man. Boom. And now it's shooting at me. His aim is not great, but seems to work.
How did we get a reference to the bullet class?
I just clicked here in the class here, there's a drop down. Just click here, and then you
Oh.
search projectile. Cool, so now we have an enemy chasing us. Ain't that neat?
Could you stand still for a second? Okay, because mine just like is very choppy. It's like it moves, shoots, and then just like super choppy. I don't know if I missed something.
Show your code, show your work.
God damn it! Not again. You can see, right?
Yep.
So, oh, yeah, see, like,
Well, it's kind of hard to see.
I can describe
laggy.
it. It is super choppy. It snaps to direction.
It snaps the direction. Okay,
Like
let's
where it's when it fires, a bullet snaps.
let's look at the code.
this one.
Yep. Ah, yeah. Yeah. The reason why that's happening for you is that hold on. Oh yes. Yeah, so the reason why that's happening is that when you're shooting the bullet, the bullet has its own collision, right? So the bullet already has collision. So what's happening is that as your bullet leaves the aggro region, you set aggro to false.
Ah, okay, that's so.
And then when it shoots the next bullet, you set aggro to true again, and that makes it snap to the player.
Ah, okay, so it's the
Yeah, it's the bullet
this
that's
thing
causing
then.
problems.
So I just need to remove that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's easiest fix.
Okay, okay. So it's because I had it checks like anything in range basically. Doesn't matter what's in range. The second anything is
Yeah.
in range.
Any collider comes into its sphere.
Ah, okay. Then it makes sense. Okay.
All right. I'm thinking we'll take a look at sort of the Unreal ecosystem before tomorrow, because I really want to or not tomorrow, on Wednesday, because I really want to start with C++ on Wednesday. That's my goal. And to do that, I really want to get through how the Unreal ecosystem works, because it's a lot more complicated than Unity's, unfortunately. Yeah. So let's take a break first. So let's take 10 minutes to get ourselves mentally prepared.
So could I see the bullet code?
Yes. So yeah, let's take 10 minutes.
Oh,
grab coffee.
That green variable there, what's that one? Yeah. What is that?
Well, that's because I split the delta. Like if I recombine it, this is probably what yours looks like.
Yeah, I split it, but the one connected, like the delta second, yeah, that one.
Oh, this one. That's just on
Yeah,
tick.
What is it connected to? What's the node? The one to the right. That one, yeah.
This?
Yeah, what kind of node is that?
That's a float.
So, right, the one you created in like to the left.
Oh, you mean like that? Yes, I did just yeah, just multiply, and then it did float by float times float.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sorry. I misunderstood. All right, I'm a pee.
Anyone here want to show the shooting graph? 'Cause mine ain't shooting.
The shooting graph.
Yeah.
Here it is.
me not get it. Must be something wrong with the components.
Show me.
This looks right, I think.
Yeah, looks good to me.
I get the print also.
The bang print.
Yeah.
Okay. Shoot origin. If you look at viewport. Oh, bad. What does the shoot origin look like if you click it? Yeah,
The white box is my enemy. Very
Very
aggressive.
very creative.
thing.
Okay, let's look in the game then. See if we play. Yeah, it sure says bang a lot. Okay, so go into the like the world view and play from there. Like the
there.
map. Yeah, exactly, and play from here. Yeah, and then you just move up to the man. Okay, and then what you do is that you hit Shift F1 and eject.
Yeah.
Eject is on the top right there. It's a little guy with an arrow pointing out.
Oh, there.
Yeah, nice. And then go into the inspector, and you scroll down a little bit. The right side, yeah. Scroll down. Oh yeah, they're definitely spawning.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, they are.
Let's take a look at them then. See what's going on in that actor. You can just hit edit projectile there to go to the blueprints. Perfect.
It shows this funny.
Oh, I see what's wrong. You're doing delta seconds plus 1,500 instead of times.
Oh.
So you want to do a multiply there. Yes, perfect.
What do we have? 1,500.
Yeah. Let's see what happens now then. Oh jävlar! Holy shit! That's a chonker! Holy fuck! That's terrifying. Alright, very nice.
That's cool.
That was good.
Maybe a tad bit smaller.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. It's like a jump scare.
I say keep it.
Yeah, it's a feature. Holy shit, Game Project 3 and Unreal. That's soon. Man, I'm responsible for getting you guys ready for that.
You're just the ways, master.
I will teach you the way of the blueprint.
Yeah, it's no big. It's just like 200 students need to get your help to get games.
Yeah,
going.
that's fine. That's easy. Easy. At least not sleep.
Are you gonna be involved in the game project at all? Like a mentor or something?
I hope so. That would be fun. I guess Chris hasn't asked me, but I guess I gotta be proactive with that shit. Maybe he's already signed up, like Max and the other guy. What is his name? Samuel. Yeah, I'll ask him.
Did we have some sort of session lecture with this Max guy? that I missed?
You had mentoring with him, I think.
Okay.
Guess you just missed him.
As in he helped out with what people asked him, or did they have like a session of something specific?
Well, I guess no lectures now. I mean,
No, he was mainly talking, like about stuff.
Isn't that what lessons are?
Ah, come on. Nothing specific though.
Yeah, it seems good. I like him. Max have a younger brother called Min. You take that back. You take that back, Thomas. It's disrespectful. Okay. So let's let's talk about the Unreal ecosystem, okay? So, when it comes to stuff like players and input and stuff like that, in Unity it's quite simple, right? You just do like, get input, input.get input, and then get key or get action or whatever. It's super easy. Which is nice. Don't get me wrong. But that's not how Unreal does it. The reason is that Unreal Engine, as you might have guessed, comes from Unreal Tournament, right? Or the Unreal games. I think they're just called Unreal, actually. And, you know, they slowly became more of an engine rather than a game. People started using them, and then they, at Epic and Sweeney, just kind of took their engine and just made it more general so you can make anything with it. And the remnants of Unreal Tournament are unfortunately still there, which is unfortunate. I think this. I wish someday, maybe for Unreal Engine 5 or something, they sort of get rid of that, and make something that's a little bit more appropriate. Because right now the ecosystem for stuff like that is quite complex, even though it doesn't need to be. But it is what it is. And the nice thing about Unreal, of course, is that you can use, if you don't like it, just do your own thing. And that's what we did at Hazelight, for example. We just rewrote everything. So we had our completely own ecosystem that worked much better for our game. And you can do that, and there's no problem. You have the source code, so you can just rewrite what you don't like, But we're not gonna do that, obviously. We're just gonna look at what's there. So, okay, this is how it works. Let's go into Paint. Unreal ecosystem. Yeah, so input comes in. From, the input system. And goes to what's called a player controller. Okay, I'm gonna draw a very nice looking gamepad. So it gets fed to a player controller. And a player controller essentially represents, a player. So if there's multiple players, there will be multiple player controllers taking their own input and so on. So a player controller represents a player. Then the player controller can possess . a pawn. Dude, that's fucking sick. That's a sick pawn I just drew. So a player controller can possess a pawn. And that would mean setting the camera and the pawn can read the input. Alright? So the player controller will forward the input to the pawn to where the pawn can do stuff, like, you know, move or something. And this is, of course, you know, for Unreal Tournament, where, you know, where you would do like, player controller can possess a pawn, and then they can possess like a spectator when they die or something, and you know, it's so you can have multiple pawns, but still have that be controlled by one central player controller, which is like, you know, whatever. And all of this setup, like what's the player controller for this game, and what's the pawn for this game, and all of that stuff is all defined in the game mode. So the game mode is just essentially just a list for, in this level, which player controller should we use, and which pawns should we use, and so on. So the game mode shows, the game mode specifies which of these classes we want to use. And then we have stuff like AI controller, which also can possess pawns. So if you want to have something like an AI, then the AI controller, you have to make one of those and then have that possess a pawn. And then the AI controller would sort of look at a state machine to figure out what to do. So that's the Unreal ecosystem in a nutshell. Like the smallest parts, at least. What we need to know. We kind of didn't need to know the AI controller. Scratch that. There is no AI. But yeah, these two parts, the player controller and the pawn, is something that we have to make to actually make this work. And the game mode to put everything together. Now, unfortunately, I'm not super like I said, like we didn't use this at all at Hazelight. We didn't use pawns or player controllers. We sort of made our own input system and everything else to make it just more simple. So there are definitely quirks about this that I might not fully know, but we'll do our best and see what happens. So I'm gonna make a new pawn because we want to make a new player, right? This player is cool and all, but we want to make something else. Oh yeah, I should mention as well. This pawn is just a base class for anything that can be possessed. Inherited from that is, whoops. Inheriting from that, we have the character. So that's a child class of pawn that has stuff like a capsule, and a movement component, so it can move, and all kinds of stuff. So if you're looking to make Unreal Tournament, then you probably want to use character. Because, you know, it's perfectly fit to be Unreal Tournament. So, that's great. I'm just thinking if we should make a pawn or a character. I'm thinking what's best here.
What's the difference between actor and character?
Actor is a base class. So all of this inherits from actor. So pawn inherits from actor, and character inherits from pawn.
And character in this is like the character we have in the game right now.
Essentially, yeah. It's
The third person character thing.
yeah. This inherits from, okay, well, it inherits from a C++ class, but this C++ class is inheriting from character. Does that mean a wall can be possessed and given input if it's a pawn? Yeah. Alright. Let's make a character, because why not? Then we can make it move and stuff, and we don't have to worry about collision or anything, because that's already kind of already there. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna make a new blueprint class. And here we can still see that pawn, character, player, controller, game mode, base, they are already here. Because again, they're very common classes in the Unreal ecosystem. They're very common classes that you want to inherit. We're gonna inherit from character. I'll call it awesome player, awesome character. Sure. Sure. So here's our player.
Pawn, right?
Character. So we're not doing the base. We're gonna use a character just to get some movement and collision stuff already out of the box. So we don't have to spend too much time on getting stuff to work.
Could you show that paint picture again you had?
Yes. Like, can barely get everything on screen.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So yeah, it's very complicated, and I hate this, but it is what it is. Yeah, so we made a character, and as you can see, we already have a capsule then. So we have a bunch of components that we sort of inherited from the character class. So we already have a mesh, although it's not tied to any skeleton, or any skell mesh. We already have an arrow component, which is this little peepies here. And we have a capsule component as the root, which is the, you know, the collision of the player. And it's not centered, and it's centered in the middle and not at the feet, which is very annoying, but whatever. We also have this character movement component here. You might wonder why there's a line in between and why I can't move anything. It's because it's an actor component. I don't really want to get into what the difference between an actor and a scene component is right now. So I'm just going to have to ask you to accept this for now. But yeah, so we have 4 components sort of built in already. And in the base class, like in the character class, there's a bunch of functionality there too. Like it's a huge file. So there's code in the actor, and there's a bunch of code in the components. It's huge. Which is why I don't like using it. So let's put a mesh on this boy. Default skeletal mesh, and it's just a fucking box. What the hell? Oh, they have a female. Oh, let's go. Let's make a female girl here. Just gonna put the feet at the feet and rotate her so she looks in the direction of the Arrow. Yeah, she got some.
How did you add the basic skeleton?
Here, I clicked on the mesh here, and then I here on the right where it said skeleton mesh under the mesh category, I selected the SK mannequin female.
Okay.
Can we go into the actor/character/etc. code and change stuff ourselves? You can, yes. You have to you just have to get the GitHub code, so then you can actually recompile the engine. But yeah, you can go in and change whatever you want. Yeah, she had a bit of gender dysmorphia, so she got a realignment surgery. I'm happy for her. Cool. So yeah, so how does this work? How do we make this girl spawn in now instead of this man? So if I play now, you know, I still play as the man, so I want to change that out so we play as the girl. Whoops, hold on. Okay. Oh, fuck. Oh, you trapped me. Alright. So, what we could do is that we switch this out for the girl. So, delete him. Get her in here. And then play. Well, that didn't really do anything. I'm still the man. I spawned over here instead. So what's going on there? She's there, but she's not. Yeah, I can't control her at all. I can push her around though. Nope. Okay. Well, what's happening is that by default, the thing that Unreal looks for to know where to spawn a player, because really, if I remove this and there's no players in the game, then it will just spawn a player for us. And it will spawn it at these player start components. Or say components, sorry. These player start actors. So they have a little gamepad and a flag. So they will spawn the player at this actor. So if I place a bunch of them, I'm pretty sure we'll select one at random. Let's see. If I move this over here. Left. Left, right, 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 left. Yeah, so you select one at random. And again, this is super Unreal Tournament, right? Because that's like, oh, that's where the player spawns, you know, in the friendly base, and you know it just picks a random spawn point for you and then keeps going. So it's very Unreal Tournament. But yeah, that's why the player kept spawning. I don't actually know what happens if we have no spawn points. Let's try it. Oh, it just spawns to the camera. Okay. So I'm gonna place it out. Just go into the place actors here, basic, and then we have the player start here. So just drag it out into the level.
We can use the one that's already in the scene, right?
Yeah, you can use the one that's already in the scene. It was just that I deleted it. Alphonse, you have to press open full blueprint editor.
Yeah, I fixed it. But what did you just do?
What did I just do?
To give the... You placed the actor and had the symbol.
Yeah, I had several player starts just to show what happened. But I just deleted them all. I just placed one here. Okay. So yeah, we want to change out the player character to, instead of spawning this dude and having him run around, I want to spawn a girl. Because it's my girl. So what I'm going to do is that we're going to make a new game mode. Because remember, the game mode is the thing that defines which player controller to spawn and which player pawn to spawn. So we're going to make a new game mode. So I'm just going to have Blueprint class, game mode base. So we're gonna make a new blueprint, and it's gonna be of type game mode. And we call it awesome game mode. So a game mode is an actor like everything else, really. But we're not actually gonna do anything in it. We could add code to it. You know, we could do begin, play, and tick stuff in game mode if we wanted to. And I guess we could add components to it. I don't know what that would do, but we could. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna head into class defaults here. This button here. Class defaults. Epic dragon. I have no idea. Oh yeah, there's a dragon. I can see it. It's just behind the ball for me. So we're gonna head into class defaults, and here we can see we have the list of all the classes that are tied to this game. So we have a bunch of shit. We have like game session, game state, player controller, player state, HUD, default pawn, spectator, replay, like there's so much stuff, and it's all just like Unreal Tournament, right? Super dumb. But we want 2 of them. Or actually, we only want 1 of them. We don't really care about the player controller right now. We're not really gonna do anything interesting in the player controller except just feed the input. And the default player controller will do that. So that will suffice. What we want to change is this default pawn class. So I'm gonna go into here and just select awesome character. So that's the only thing we want to change. Okay. Yeah, okay. So now our default pawn class is this awesome character. So I'm just gonna compile and save, and we're done there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna head into settings, project settings, maps and modes here. So settings, project settings, maps and modes. Then here in the default game mode, I'm gonna change this to awesome game mode. So now this is the game mode we're gonna use for this game. Ruta, wake up. Am I that boring?
No, no, it's not you, it's me.
Yeah, so we have awesome game mode now. We crashed again. Man, what is up with this fucking version? I should have just picked a more stable one. I didn't know this one was like this. Better than Unity. I never said that. So now we have our awesome game mode as our default game mode. I never said that. No crashes or issues at all here. It's probably not. Yeah, it sounds like a them problem more than a Unreal problem. It can sense by your clicks. It's like this is a Unity developer, and it just crashes. So now if I play, I can't move. I can't do anything. And that's actually a good sign, because that means we have our new awesome player character here. So now we are using our grill. But of course we have not set up any input or anything to actually make her work. So let's start doing that. The first thing I want to do is add a camera so we can actually kind of see what's going on here. So I'm first gonna add, so I'm just gonna go into add component. Oh god. And I'm gonna do camera there, spring arm. Yes, spring arm, not camera, spring arm. I'm done. I'm gonna add a spring arm component. I did this in the wrong order. I should have showed first why we need a spring arm. Fuck it, let's go back. I didn't say anything. I'm just gonna add a camera. I did things in the wrong order. Sorry. I'm gonna add a camera. It's very conveniently placed where, you know, the sun always shines. I'm just gonna place this back, sort of third person style. I don't know, something like this maybe. Yeah. So when you take over, so when a pawn is possessed, the camera, because I remember when I said possessing and when I said you possess an actor, that means also moving the camera there or activating the camera there. And it will take just the first available camera component on that actor, on the pawn. So all you need to do is just add a camera to a pawn, and when you possess that pawn, that camera will be activated. So now we have a third person camera. But of course we still can't move.
I'm not even getting the correct character. I get the guy.
Did you go in and change here?
Yeah.
You need to delete the guy, I think.
Oh yeah, you need to delete the man over here.
Okay.
Why does it do that? Why does it like prioritize the guy, even though we specified?
Yeah, so I might as well show that. The second way of doing things, if you don't want to use player starts, and I don't blame you, is that you can just drag out the character to the game. And then you also get a preview of the camera, which is quite nice. So you can actually tweak what it looks like. Then what you do is that you scroll down on your character through just billions of shit. Like, see, the movement component is so bloated. It's like walking, jumping, falling. It's like swimming, I think, as well. Yeah, here, swimming, flying. It's like, holy shit. And we want to scroll down to here. Yes, here, auto possess player. We want to select player 0. So that would mean when we start the game and it creates the player, first it will see, is there a pawn in the level that has auto possess players set to this particular player? In that case, possess that pawn. If not, then spawn a pawn at one of the player starts. So if you want to have a little bit more control and honestly a more logical way of doing things, then you can just place out the character and set auto possess. And now we have this girl here. Even though we have a player spawn, or a player start, sorry, we still only possess this girl and don't spawn another one, because it doesn't spawn if it already found a character or a pawn that it could possess. Cool.
What was it called? Fucking option. There's 1 million here.
Sorry?
Auto possess player.
Yes, auto possess player. Okay. You can search here as well, so you can just do auto possess.
Oh, okay.
What happens if there's multiple auto-possesses in a scene?
I don't know. I'm just guessing it picks either a random one or the first one. Let's see if I place out 3. Got the right one, the right one, the right one, the right one. Yeah, it just takes. It's not random, but it's arbitrary. I assume. I assume it has something to do with the order in the actor list or something. Not quite sure. But yeah, only one can be possessed at a time. So let's make the girl move then. Let's go then. So the way that input works in Unreal is that we go into settings, project settings. So I'm in project settings right now. And we scroll down to input here. Engine input. And here we have some mappings. So we have action mappings and we have axis mappings. So axis mapping would be something that accepts a range of values. So maybe from 0 to 1, like with an analog stick. Like it can still be the keyboard. It's just that the keyboard would map to 1 or -1 or something like that. Perfect for moving somewhere. And action mappings is something that you press. So it would be like hitting the A button for jump, for example. Would be an action mapping. So it's a discrete press and release. While axis mapping is just more of a range of values. So it already has some axis mappings here. I'm actually going to remove them so we can set up our own. So just hit the garbage. Whoa. Just hit the garbage icon here just to remove them all. So I'm going to add an axis mapping here. So I just hit the plus button. Jesus Christ. So in the axis mappings, I will add move forward. I might want to have that on the... well, it's fucked up again. To restart. Fucking Unreal. Sweeney! This is where you spam the Sweeney emote and a taste light. Be like, oh, engine crashed again, Sweeney emote. Okay. I'm back in. Alright, so I'm adding move forward here as an axis mapping. And I'm just gonna map that to gamepad left thumbstick y-axis. So that's just gonna map this to the left thumbstick at y-axis. So from if I hit up, then that means 1, and if I hit down, then that's -1. Very easy. I also want to map that to the keyboard though. So I'm gonna hit W. I'm gonna click this little icon here, this little keyboard icon. Just click it and then hit W. So it will map W key. And then I'm also gonna map S. So W and S. And of course, move forward. If I get a 1 out of it, that means going forwards. So that makes sense. So W, scale 1. Then S, I want to scale this to -1. And what that means is that if we hit S, the S key, that will give us -1 out of the axis mapping. So move forward would be equal to -1 if we hit the S key. Then I'll do move right. This is going to be more of the same. It's going to do gamepad left thumbstick x-axis. Then D and A. So move right. D would be 1 and A would be -1. All right. So now we mapped our movement values. So let's go into our character then and start reading these. So I'm going to go into awesome character. And the way it works is if you use right click and use type move forward. And then we have an event and we have a function. So the event will be called whenever the axis value changes. So whenever the axis value changes, this event will be called and we get the axis value out here. Or we can just pull it directly. We can just read it like this. So just read what the current value is. So let's just print this value and see what it is. So I'm just gonna add a print. Whoops. Just hook this in. So just drag the axis value into the string input. And I will make a convert from float to string node here. So that's like toString in C#.
Where'd the get move forward go?
Oh, I deleted it. We don't need it.
Okay.
So now we're gonna print the move forward axis value. So let's try it. Alright, so it's 0, and if I hit forward with W, it gets 1. And if I hit S, then it's -1. How nice. It's kind of hard to see when we print this much though, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set duration to 0. And what that's gonna do is just print for 1 frame. So that's great when something is happening every frame. So when something is happening every frame and you want to kind of monitor what it does, it's a great thing to do duration 0 here. So now we just have a little value up here in the top left showing us what our current move forward value is. Well, with A and D I haven't started printing with those yet, but let's see what we get. So let's add that as well. I'm going to do move right. Same thing is print. Just drag the axis value there into the string.
How do we get to this window again?
Double click the awesome character. And then just go to event graph.
Okay.
It doesn't actually print anything for me.
It doesn't?
No, I'm sad.
I am sad. Did you auto-possess? Here? Or I mean, do you have a character on screen at all?
I have the character and I did the auto-possess.
Okay, show me your screen. Let's see.
Okay.
Bless you.
Can you see now?
Yep.
Okay. I have the character here.
Mm-hmm. When you play, what happens? Oh, you have disabled on auto-possess, but it shouldn't really matter since you have a player start.
Why did it do that? Well, it does print my 0.0, but nothing from the in.
Oh, click the screen. There we go.
Oh, of course.
You weren't focused.
Yeah, because I had the mouse in.
Yeah. That's why.
Okay, I'm a dumbass.
No, it's okay. It's a lot it's a lot of information today.
Did you take over this stream, or do I have to turn it off?
No, I took it over.
Yeah, okay.
Emil, what's that? What kind of node is that between the access value and in string?
That's a convert string. So
Convert.
it converts a float value to a string. And it just automatically generates if I try to drag a float into a string here. It just automatically generates.
Okay, cool.
Does it automatically generates for every value?
For every compatible value.
Okay.
So anything that can be converted to a string will get its own Go node. Okay. So now we should see two values. We should see forward and right. It looks like they work. And of course I can plug in my gamepad here. And now I can get, you know, any range of values. So, that's great.
Can we easily add, like, it just says like 0, 0. Can we add like that it would print like an x equals something for clarity?
Well, let's see. I don't think easily, unfortunately. Let's see, format. We can do string addition, so we can do append, like this. So it's a string append node, and then we can write forward colon, and then for B we use press in axis value there. So we can do that to make it look a little bit nicer. Yeah, so then it's forward 1 and so on. Okay. So now let's turn these values, these axis values, into actual movement then, shall we? Just shut down. What's this? Oh. So the way we do this as we call this add movement input, which is a function on the pawn. And this then gets fed into the movement components. So let's try it. So I'm going to remove this printing because it seems to work. So world direction, well, I'm just going to hit for 1 here, 1 in X, just as a test. And then scale value, I'm just going to plump in axis value there. Not quite sure what force does. If true, always add the input ignoring the result of is move input ignored. Ah, okay. Some weird feature. And then for move right, I'm gonna do the same thing, but instead of X, I'm gonna do Y1. And then scale value is gonna be axis value. Whoops. So let's see what happens now. Yeah, I can move. Woohoo! And so we have collision, everything. We have step ups, step downs. So, you know, the movement component is quite, you know, standard movement stuff. Like, it works fine. This was the code. It's a better game than Arkanoid. Tobias Guest. Who's this? Who's this invader? Asking me about my vaping flavors? It's personal. Yeah, it's a sting operation. Yeah, so that's movement input. That's great. Let's add a jump then, so we can jump, because that's cool. So I'm gonna go into settings, project settings, input. I'm gonna add an action mapping. I'm gonna call it jump. So I'm gonna set it to space for the keyboard. And then I'm also gonna add the gamepad, face, bottom. So the A button on an Xbox controller, or a cross for a PlayStation. Let's jump. And now we can go into our player. Trying to show stuff at the same time, but it's going so-so. Okay. And now we can go into player, right click, and just type jump. Okay, there's a lot of jump stuff, but the one we want is here, input action events. We have a jump here. So that's the one we want. So it should look something like this. So we have two exec pins. We have one exec pin that is when we press something. And then we have an exec pin that's when we release something. And then we also get a key structure here if we want to figure out exactly which key was pressed. For some reason. So I was going to say, when we press jump, then I'm just going to call jump. Which is a function in character. So that's a character function. And again, that gets fed into the movement component and it does its thing. So let's see what happens. If I hit space, amazingly, I jump. Yeah, Unreal, well, that's the problem with this kind of thing. Like, designers love this shit. Because they're like, oh, it's so easy to make a game. Look, I already have a game. It's so easy. But then it's like, as soon as you want to make something that's not Unreal Tournament, it kind of becomes more of a hindrance rather than a help. Which is, unfortunately, how it is, but... I mean, I haven't used the character movement component that much. Maybe it's great, I don't know. Not quite sure. I haven't tried... Whoa! I haven't tried to, like, modify it too much. We can, of course, go into the movement component and just change stuff We can do like change our max acceleration or mass, which I guess is good. Step height, friction. I kind of want to change gravity. Oh, here's jump C velocity. 420. Nice. Let's change that to 800. So we jump a little higher. Is there a way to change gravity? I guess not. I guess it uses the world gravity. Oh, gravity scale. There we go. It's up to 2. Whatever, I'm just changing stuff. Because the Unreal default movement is so fucking floaty. Okay, there we go. So now I have a little bit more gravity and a little bit higher jump. So you can go in there and just check the settings and just tweak them around and see what happens. Okay, but we can't turn, right? That's a big problem right now. We can't turn. So let's add some turning. Also, our girl isn't moving at all, which is also kind of sad. But one step at a time. Let's start by being able to turn the camera so we can actually look around. So I'm gonna go into here, into axis mappings. And we're gonna map look horizontal. So that's gonna be our input for looking horizontally. And I'm gonna type in mouse X. So that's the X-axis of the mouse. And then I'll type in gamepad, right thumbstick, X-axis. Then I'll add look vertical. And that's gonna be mouse Y. And gamepad, whoops. Gamepad, right thumbstick, Y-axis, whoops. There we go. Okay. And the way that this works, the way we hook these up, is that we go into, we use type look horizontal in the character blueprint. There's some awesome character event graph. Get this look horizontal event here. And then I just plop this into add controller yaw input. Again, a function on pawn. It's so easy, right? God, this engine is awesome. Don't you guys love Unreal? Does the Unreal use quaternions in any way? Yes. Yes, down the line it does. And then we're gonna use look vertical. No, oh yeah. I'm gonna get the look vertical event here. I'm gonna plop this into add controller pitch input.
So yaw is left and right and pitch is up and down, basically.
Yes.
But why?
What do you mean, but why? That's the standard. It comes from aviation.
Okay.
It's
No, I actually asked. I don't know.
it's the same in Unity.
Amy laughing at people that wanna know.
What? Okay.
I'm pretty sure that Unity just uses X, Y, and Z for your Euler angles.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe so, yeah. So that would be like rotation around the X-axis and rotation around the Y-axis and so on. Whereas here's yaw is around the z-axis, pitch is around the y-axis, and then roll is around the x-axis. So let's see what happens. Hooray! We can turn. However, we can't pitch. And now our input is fucked. So if I look to the left, our movement is still around the world x-axis. So clearly we have to be a little bit smarter with how we add our movement input here. So I'm gonna fix that first. So in add movement input, it says world direction, so obviously I should have known. Now we're moving in the world x-axis. Of course we want to move in the actor's forward vector. So I'm just gonna, whoops. I'm just gonna drag out here and do get actor forward vector. Just plop that into world direction. I'm sorry, she sounded sarcastic. I'm sorry, Rule. I didn't mean to be rude.
Kinda mean to assume
I'm
that I'm
sorry.
sarcastic.
Okay, don't cancel me. I'm sorry.
I'm going on Twitter.
I thought you were being facetious. Okay, and then we're gonna do get actor right vector for for move right. Emil's Joker arc. I got baited into being mean. All right. So let's see what happens then. So now when I move forward, I actually move forward. So that's good. So now I can strafe and do everything and still look around. But of course, the pitch is still not following like it should. So the problem there is that this kind of thing, it's kind of like a little magic box, right? Like we've been interacting with some sort of black box that just does a bunch of magic for us. You know, we suddenly like add movement input and add control yaw, and it's just like, okay, it just works. And yeah, it is kind of tied a little bit to the pawn actor structure. So if we actually go into awesome character here and hit class defaults. So I'm in the play character and I hit class defaults here on the right. Here we can see in pawn settings, we can see use controller rotation yaw. And that is actually why the character rotates at all. If I uncheck that, it doesn't rotate at all. So that's really the only reason that our character is even rotating in the first place. Even for yaw. So if I check both of these, let's see what happens. So I checked both pitch and yaw here in the class defaults of our character. And now it kinda works. However, first of all, the mouse input is inverted, which is gross. Disgusting. Absolutely filthy. Did you know that some people actually invert their x-axis input? Isn't that weird? Like, I didn't know people like that existed.
I do that.
You do that?
Yeah.
Since when? You're lying.
I thought the normal one was the inverted one, and then people.
No,
did
you're
it.
lying.
Yes, don't you remember with my mate when we played Dark Souls? I was like, "What the fuck? The camera's inverted." And he was like, "Nah, it's not." I'm like, "Yes, it is."
Oh my god.
I'm one of those.
It
Holy
used to
shit.
be. It used to be default in FPS games in late 90s.
No. No.
You always had to go in and
No,
untick it.
now you're just lying.
Have you
No.
never?
No, it
No.
was.
There is a
Gregor
Counter
is
Strike Pro
right.
which actually plays with inverted. So
Is
that is
Doom
because
is
it's
Doom
based on
inverted?
physics.
Have you never played a flight simulator or farm simulator?
Have you never
Or train
played a
simulator?
video game in the past century? Yeah, got him.
In some 90s games, it was actually inverted by default, and it was super weird.
But Doom was
I remember
inverted,
there
right?
was one game that didn't have the option to actually put it the right way, but I wanted to play it, so I learned to play with the inverted.
Really?
Then when I tried to play other games, I was like,
You're two brain halters like fighting.
Controlling.
The only one I remember specifically was Quake. It was default in that, but I remember I often had to go in and change it.
Really?
When you play a game with touchscreen, most of the times it's inverted to go in the opposite direction, to swipe.
Well,
the
yeah, but
view
you're
that is
inverted. You're inverted.
Mature, Emil, mature.
All right, so yeah, let's re-invert the input then for vertical. So I'm just gonna head into input, look vertical, mouse Y. I'm just gonna change this to -1 here in the scale. There we go. So just re-inverting that. There we go. Now I can play. All right. So I mean, it's kind of what we wanted, but not really. I mean, because now we're rotating the entire actor. So if I look straight down, she's just laying on the floor, and we can like barely move. So clearly we have to come up with some different solution than having the whole actor follow the control rotation. So clearly kind of what we want to do is just the camera following this stuff instead of the player. Like the player shouldn't rotate at all if I look right and left. The player shouldn't be like over the shoulder, it should be third person. So I mean really we want to not have the player rotate at all. It should be the camera. I nailed that sentence. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna go into class defaults and just uncheck both pitch and yaw here. Just gonna uncheck them both. Then I'm gonna go into the camera. Just click the camera. And here we have use pawn control rotation. So that will make the camera be based on the control rotation, but not the pawn. So I'm gonna click that. So
Where do
now
I find that option?
you click on the camera, and then it should be right there.
I have nothing on mine.
Do you have a camera?
Wait, I think I found a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, found it.
Cool. Alright, so this is worse. So now, okay, so the camera is rotating based on my control rotation, but it should be swiveling around the player, not like doing this, whatever this is. Like right now it's rotating around its own pivot rather than rotating around the player as the pivot. We also had the problem that the camera can go through walls, right? So now if I back up enough, the camera is on the other side of the wall, so we can sort of look through walls, and that's kind of disorienting. Also, if I go behind something, the camera can't see the player anymore. So let's fix both of these problems in one go. So I want the camera to rotate around the player, not around its own sort of center pivot, and I want the camera not to go through walls like this. And to do that, I'm gonna add a spring arm. Now we're in this step. There we go. So a spring arm component is a it's a component that can rotate around like this. So we're gonna use this as the base for our camera. So our camera will rotate around the spring arm. So instead of having the camera rotate, instead the spring arm is gonna rotate. Yeah. So I'm gonna attach the camera to the spring arm and reset its location and rotation. So I attached the camera to the spring arm, and then I went to the camera transform here and just reset all the values. So we're zeroed in. And the second thing that the spring arm does, if I sort of, you know, change this target arm length, is that it will trace from the location of the spring arm to the target destination where the camera sits. It will do a trace here, and if there's something in the way, it's gonna shorten the spring arm so that the camera will sort of come closer. So if we back up against the wall, hopefully the spring arm should see that and sort of move the camera in to be against the wall so it doesn't go through. Right. So we're gonna do that. Then I'm just gonna offset. Can I do that here actually? Yes. So we're gonna offset the socket. I'm not gonna move the camera. So I'm not gonna move the camera like this. What I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna move the offset. I'm gonna offset where the spring arm is tracing to. So I'm gonna keep the camera centered. And then I'm just gonna go into the socket offset here. And offset it upwards. Like that. To make sure that when we're tracing for a wall, we're always tracing to where the camera is. I'm actually gonna bring it in a little bit. I'm gonna zoom in, like change the spring arm length to be a little closer. Maybe move it down just a slight bit. And then I am going to rotate the camera down. Actually, angle was a little bit extreme. Let's pitch it like that. Move it down like that, perhaps. So we rotate the camera around, but we don't move it. We keep it at 0, 0. Its own location here. And the only thing we want to move is the spring arm socket. This is called the spring arm socket here. We move it by changing the target arm length and the socket offsets. Just to make sure that our traces are coming through correctly. And then what we're gonna do is that we're gonna uncheck this use pawn control rotation from the camera. Gonna uncheck that. And instead, on the spring arm, we're gonna check use pawn control rotation. So now the spring arm is gonna swivel around. And the camera will simply pivot around that point. Isn't that nice? So let's see what happens. This looks better. So now the spring arm is swiveling around when I'm moving the control rotation with the mouse. And the camera just follows that. So now we have a better third-person camera. And if I go up against a wall, the camera zooms in very unfortunately at her ass. But, you know, I do what I can. We can fix that by just moving up the camera a little bit. So I want to be at the head. There we go. So now she zooms at her face. So even anything that's that hits the trace, boom, the camera will zoom in. So that's the spring arm. And that's what that does. Cool. There's a few bugs already. The movement doesn't work anymore. Again, the movement will just move us in the world XY and so on. So that sucked. But let's not worry about that today. It's quite an easy fix, but let's not do it today. I'm betting you guys are super tired. All right, so that was quite an information dump. It's just in the beginning, it's just a lot of things to get through, just to sort of get kind of a hang of what the hell is going on. Highlight, the differences between this and Unity. I mean, it's quite normal for people to hate this engine because it's so different from Unity. But of course, the same thing happens the other way around, right? Like people who start out with Unreal hate Unity for not having the Unreal features that they like. It's all about, which one you're already sort of acclimated with. And it's just about doing things in it and just getting around stuff, and then eventually you don't really think about it. It just becomes another engine.
Can I ask something before we finish?
Yeah.
Can you use the spring arm from anything else apart from like camera stuff?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe you can use it for anything.
Okay.
Actually, let's try it. Let's just. I'm not too sure.
Yeah,
Let's try.
I was gonna ask like what examples of spring arm, what could like a spring arm be used for, other than the camera?
I've never actually. I've never used it for anything else, but let's try it. I'm just gonna add a cube here. So I have cube attached to a spring arm.
Joints in Unity a little bit, maybe.
I don't know what a joint in Unity is. So, but if I back into this wall now, yeah. So now the cube will press up against the wall. So it's like a spring, kind of a shitty spring. But I guess that could be used for something. I don't know. Usually you would just do a trace for this. Use the normal trace, but it is what it is. All right, cool guys. Good job today. It was a lot, so it's okay if it feels the brain a little bit full. That's why I like doing the Monday, Wednesday, Friday setup, so that you guys have one day in between each lecture to kind of process what we talked about and look at the video and talk to other people and try things out yourself. So tomorrow, just like mess around a bit, I would say. Mess around in our project here, try to make actors, try to get the character to work and stuff like that, just to get a feel for it, And then we'll kick things off on Wednesday with C++. So that's exciting.
Ooh.
Boo, C++, boo. Shit. All right. There's any last questions before we end things today? All right. Cool.
Thank you for today, Emil.
Thank you, Daniel.
Woo!
Specifically you. All right, guys. Have a great evening.
It's owned, everyone.
I want to thank you too.
Okay, thank you too, and thank you, thank you. Not you, Ruda, because you were mean today, so you get an F. Sorry.
Sure, you just assume I'm mean. You know that, right? It's all in your head.
Yeah, it is.
Emil, when are you coming back to school?
Assume these nuts.
Never.
Come on, mate. Don't be like this.
Never.
Come on.
Imagine running Unreal on the computer school, if I can imagine.
There's an apple on your table and it's getting rotten. You should really come.
Gross! Throw it away. I won't eat it. Even if I get there, who wants to eat an apple while teaching? Because it gets like all messy, and I'm like my mouth gets like all sticky.
How do you eat apples?
It was a gift for you.
When I eat apples, then it's just like, okay, now I'm dedicating 10 minutes to eat this apple. And then
You
it's
should
like,
learn how to eat apples, honestly.
You can throw it away and put the banana there. Or mango. A pear?
Which is the least
Do you want
messy?
a watermelon? A
The
full
whole fruit
thing.
bowl. You get a whole fruit bowl if you wanna. Just come to school.
Just give me like little tiny baby carrots. That's good. That's a good
Okay,
food.
baby carrots.
Ew.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
I'll write it for next time.
Ew, vegetables.
You know
Alright.
what? I will put you. I will
Wait,
put
are we
you.
even allowed to have vegetables in school? Because
Yes.
I'm here.
I will put you one large sweet potato on your seat. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Have a nice evening, guys. Ping me tomorrow for any questions. And I love you. Bye.